Hello, this is Short Stories, a production of the National Taichung University of Science and Technology Language Center. Today we will read one of the oldest stories ever written, the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's an ancient Mesopotamian bromance that's over 4,000 years old. It started out as several distinct Sumerian poems that were eventually combined into one epic written in the Akkadian language. 12 incomplete tablets were found near the city of Nineveh in modern-day Iraq. There were some gaps in the story, but historians managed to fill some of them by using fragments of the story that were found in other places. What makes the story significant for Western culture is the influence it had on traditional storytelling. The Epic of Gilgamesh is the first example of the hero's journey, a plot structure that is still used today. Have you ever seen a Marvel movie? They mostly follow the same pattern as this 4,000-year-old Mesopotamian myth. I will be reading my simplified short story version today, so some characters and scenes may be altered. Also, I use contemporary language and syntax because the archaic writing of ancient scholars can be a bit difficult to understand, especially for English language learners. Vocabulary: harsh, harsh. Steve Jobs was widely considered to be a harsh boss. Civilization, civilization. Human civilization is over 10,000 years old. Seduce, seduce. The woman planned to seduce the king so that she could be queen. Mighty, mighty. Who dares to fight the mighty Thor? BFF, BFF. Best friend forever. Thor and the Hulk are BFFs. Bro, bro. Bro, what time is it? On the ropes, on the ropes. Thanos had Tony Stark on the ropes. Immortality, immortality. Hou-Yi was granted immortality for his fantastic deeds. The story. I will proclaim to the world the deeds of Gilgamesh, king of Uruk. He was wise, strong, and brave. He went on a long journey and saw mysteries and learned secret knowledge. To him all things were known. Worn out, he returned and rested. Now I am recording his epic tale on this tablet. Gilgamesh was 2/3 god and 1/3 man. He was tall, with broad shoulders and muscular arms. His luxurious black hair shone in the sun, and his beard was perfect. No wonder everyone said he was the handsomest man who ever lived. When Gilgamesh first became king, Uruk was a dusty town on the edge of the desert. He went to work right away to build it up into the greatest city in the world. He first built the walls around the city to defend it from its enemies. Then he built the great temple so that the gods would favor his kingdom. Next, he built roads and irrigation systems so that his people could flourish. Finally, he built wide plazas surrounded by tall towers called ziggurats. All visitors who saw the city believed it to be the center of the world. Of course, Gilgamesh did not do all of these things by himself. He employed the labor of all his people, every man, woman, and child old enough to make bricks. King Gilgamesh was a harsh taskmaster who behaved more like a Chinese boss than a king. You could say that his management style was 996. The people of Uruk groaned under the load he was putting on them. They prayed to the god Anu for help. Anu heard their prayers and created a man who could match Gilgamesh's strength, Enkidu. Enkidu was born in the wilderness and did not know what civilization was. He was hairy and wild. He ate grass with the gazelles and jostled beasts for a spot at the watering hole. The first humans to see him were local trappers. They tried to capture him but had no success. Then the trappers held a meeting with King Gilgamesh and decided that the only thing that could tame a wild heart was the love of a woman. The trappers brought a woman named Shamat to the watering hole, where she soon seduced Enkidu. After staying with her for 6 days and 7 nights, Enkidu's mind was awakened. He realized that he was not an animal, but a man. Shamat taught Enkidu about human civilization. She told him about music, cooked food, and clothes. All these things can be found in abundance in the city of Uruk, she told him. She then told him about King Gilgamesh. He's as strong as a bull, she asserted. Enkidu was intrigued. I have wrestled bulls before, he said. I can defeat this Gilgamesh with one arm tied behind my back. Shamat replied, Oh, I don't think so. Many have tried and all have failed. You couldn't beat him. Enkidu growled and said, I will challenge Gilgamesh and show him who the true mighty one is. Shamat took Enkidu's hand and led him to Uruk. The people of Uruk were surprised to see a man who was as magnificent as Gilgamesh. Look at his muscles, said a man. Wow, what a beard, said a woman. A crowd of people gathered in the plaza to marvel at him. Where is Gilgamesh? Bellowed Enkidu. I challenge him to single combat. Gilgamesh arrived and said, I dreamed that this day would come. I accept your challenge. The two burly men wrestled with one another violently. They smashed walls and tumbled doorposts as they rolled around the city. Eventually, Gilgamesh got the upper hand and pinned Enkidu to the ground. They suddenly forgot their anger and started laughing. You put up a great fight, said Gilgamesh. I think you're the first man to give me a nosebleed. Enkidu chuckled and said, I have never met a worthier adversary. The two men pledged to be BFFs. When two heroes get together, they most certainly will go on an adventure. That is exactly what Enkidu and Gilgamesh did next. The pair walked all the way to the enchanted cedar forest. The guardian of this forest was a fearsome monster named Humbaba. Beware of Humbaba, warned Enkidu. His roar is like a flood, his mouth is like fire, and his breath is like death. Gilgamesh put his hands on his hips and said, A man may die, but his fame will live forever. Once Enkidu and Gilgamesh arrived in the cedar forest, they immediately began chopping down trees. All seemed to be going well when suddenly they heard a terrifying roar. It's Humbaba, shouted Enkidu with a tinge of fear in his voice. No matter what happens, I got your back, bro, assured Gilgamesh. Humbaba emerged from the dark forest, his eyes glowing with rage. Who dares to cut down the sacred cedar trees of the gods? He roared. Enkidu and Gilgamesh, being men of action, did not answer, but instead leaped into battle. The fighting was fierce. The two heroes couldn't gain an advantage on the beast. In fact, Humbaba appeared to have them on the ropes. When all seemed lost, Gilgamesh prayed to the god of the sun for assistance. His prayers were answered. A storm cloud appeared and struck Humbaba with 13 lightning bolts. Now's our chance, shouted Enkidu. The men made one last assault on the monster, pinning him to the ground. Humbaba was defeated, but not dead. Wait, begged the monster. I am just a servant of the god Enlil. the highest of all gods. He created me to guard this forest. If you kill me, he will be very upset." Gilgamesh paused and thought for a moment. Enkidu grunted and said, "What are you waiting for? Kill him!" But Gilgamesh still hesitated. Enkidu did not wait. He made the killing blow, and Humbaba was dead. When Gilgamesh and Enkidu returned with Humbaba's head on a cedar pike, they were given a hero's welcome. They used the wood to repair the damage that was caused by their previous wrestling match, and hung Humbaba's head on the new gate to the city. The goddess Ishtar was watching all this from heaven and decided that she must make Gilgamesh her husband. She flew down to the temple in Uruk and greeted Gilgamesh. "Be my husband, Gilgamesh," she said, "and you will have anything you desire." Gilgamesh was well aware of Ishtar's dating history. She had been married 6 times, and each husband met a gruesome end. "No thanks, psycho," he said. Ishtar became furious and flew back to heaven. Crying, she approached her father Anu. "What is the matter, princess?" "Daddy," wailed Ishtar, "that stupid Gilgamesh has insulted me. Aren't you going to do something about it?" Anu replied, "Why are you so upset about one human?" Ishtar demanded the bull of heaven so that she could smash Gilgamesh with it. Sweetie, I can't lend you the bull of heaven. It's too—" Ishtar threw a tantrum and screamed, "If you don't give me the bull of heaven, I'll smash the gates of the underworld and let the dead feast on the living." Anu caved and gave Ishtar what she wanted. Enkidu was the first to see the bull of heaven come hurtling out of the sky. When it smashed into the ground, it opened a crack in the earth's surface, into which fell 100 doomed men. Enkidu did not wait for his friend. He jumped straight into action. He grabbed that bull by the horns and tried to wrestle it into submission. Gilgamesh joined the battle, and together the 2 heroes killed the savage bull. "We are the greatest heroes in the world!" shouted Gilgamesh triumphantly. By this time, Ishtar was boiling with anger. "You'll pay for this, Gilgamesh!" she yelled. That night, Enkidu had a dream. He dreamed that the gods were having a meeting. "They have killed Humbaba and the bull of heaven," said Anu. "They must die." Enlil shook his head and said, "Not Gilgamesh, only Enkidu." Enkidu woke up with a terrible fever. "Bro, I think I'm dying," he moaned. Gilgamesh tried to treat his illness, but nothing worked. Crying, Gilgamesh told his dear friend, "I will build a statue of you made of pure gold. I will make sure the world remembers you." Enkidu groaned louder and said, "If I hadn't met that woman, none of this would have happened." But he was reminded that it was the woman who led him to Uruk. If it weren't for that woman, Shamat, he never would have met Gilgamesh. "I'll miss you, bro," said Enkidu tearfully. 12 days later, he died. The death of Enkidu shattered Gilgamesh's heart. He declared a period of mourning in the city of Uruk. Everyone wept for poor Enkidu. Gilgamesh became so depressed that he stopped bathing and wore only rough animal skins. He went out into the wilderness and wandered for days. "There must be a way to bring my friend back," he thought. Immediately he remembered the legend of Utnapishtim, the lone survivor of the great flood and the only human to be granted immortality by the gods. "If anyone has the answer, it's him," said Gilgamesh. He went back to Uruk to prepare for his journey. "Utnapishtim lives in a far-off place," advised the chief priest, "where the sun rises." Gilgamesh was not deterred. "This will be my final adventure," he declared. "One way or another, I will see my friend again." The questions. Number 1. Why did Anu create Enkidu? A. Gilgamesh was lonely. B. Shamat was lonely. C. He wanted to keep Gilgamesh in check. D. Ishtar asked him to do it. The answer is C. He wanted to keep Gilgamesh in check. Question 2. Who killed Humbaba? A. Ishtar. B. Gilgamesh. C. Enkidu. D. Anu. The answer is C. Enkidu. Question 3. Why did Ishtar want to punish Gilgamesh? A. He stole money from her. B. He stole the bull of heaven. C. He refused to marry her. D. He parked his car illegally. The answer is C. He refused to marry her. Question 4. What will Gilgamesh do next? A. He will go to the end of the earth to bring back his friend. B. He will find a new friend. C. He will throw the ring into Mount Doom. D. He will sail to Aslan's country. The answer is A. He will go to the end of the earth to bring back his friend.